My wife spent 7 years calling my work a garage hobby and a midlife crisis. Now she wanted half of everything. What she didn't know, I'd been preparing for this moment for 2 years. My name is Preston Rafferty. I'm 49 years old, and I've spent the last 7 years perfecting a water filtration system that could change everything for communities without clean drinking water. 7 years of late nights, failed prototypes, and my wife Gabrielle telling anyone who'd listen that I was wasting my time. The irony hit me hard when she slid that envelope across our kitchen island on a Tuesday morning. The same kitchen where 3 days earlier, I'd celebrated signing a $55 million licensing deal with Aquatech Global. She served me divorce papers. I'd just sold a patent for $55 million. Gabby stood there in designer athleisure wear, her manicured nails drumming the marble countertop. She wouldn't look at me directly. "What's this?" I asked, though I already knew. "Divorce papers," Gabby said flatly. "My attorney says we should handle this quickly." I picked up the envelope. Heavy stock paper, expensive. "You want to talk about timing?" She finally met my eyes, and what I saw there was pure calculation. "Preston, let's be honest. We've been done for a while. You've had your little project. I've had my life. Now you've made something of it, and we can both move forward." Her little project. The same project she'd mocked at dinner parties, calling it my garage hobby while her friends laughed into their wine glasses. "This changes everything for us," I said carefully. "It changes everything for you," Gabby corrected, reaching for her smoothie. "I'm claiming what's mine. Half of everything, including that filtration deal." That's when it clicked. She wasn't leaving because we'd grown apart. She was cashing out. The timing wasn't coincidental. She'd waited, watched, and struck the moment the money became real. I set the envelope down. "You might want to have your attorney look more carefully at the timeline of things." Her eyebrows drew together. "What's that supposed to mean?" I sipped my cold coffee. "It means you're assuming I've been sitting in that garage without thinking ahead. You're assuming wrong. Don't play games with me, Preston," Gabby warned sharply. "I know exactly what we have." But she didn't know. While she'd been at yoga retreats and women's empowerment workshops with that spiritual coach Brett, I'd been doing more than inventing. I'd been preparing. Because 2 years ago, I'd heard her through the patio door, telling her friends how I was having a midlife crisis, how my obsession was embarrassing. That conversation changed everything. Not loudly, just a quiet shift, like a door closing. "We'll see what the attorneys say," I replied, standing. As I walked past her, she called out, "Don't think you can hide anything. My lawyer is very thorough." I didn't respond. Douglas Finch was about to discover that thorough wasn't enough when you were already 3 steps behind. What she didn't know was that the man she'd married had learned something crucial: always have a backup plan. And mine was already in motion. 2 years ago, on a humid Saturday afternoon in July, I was in the garage working on Prototype 17 of my filtration system. The sensor array kept giving false readings, and I'd been troubleshooting for 6 hours straight. My back hurt, my fingers were stained with solder, and I was starting to question everything. I'd come inside to grab water when I heard voices on the back patio. Gabby was hosting one of her wine afternoons with Sienna and 2 other women from her women's empowerment group. The patio door was half open, and their laughter drifted into the hallway. I was about to announce myself when I heard my name. "Preston still out there playing scientist?" one of them asked. "Every single day," Gabby replied, and I could hear the eye roll in her voice. "It's like living with a teenager who won't give up on his science fair project." They laughed. I stood there, water bottle in hand, frozen. "What exactly is he building?" Sienna asked. "Some water filtration thing," Gabby said dismissively. "He swears it's going to revolutionize access to clean water in developing countries. Meanwhile, I'm the one keeping us afloat financially. My consulting income pays for this house, the cars, everything." That wasn't entirely true. My engineering salary from my previous job had built a solid foundation, but I'd left that position 3 years ago to focus full-time on the patent. Gabby's consulting brought in good money, sure, but she spent it as fast as it came in. "Is it going anywhere?" another voice asked. "The project?" "Who knows?" Gabby sighed dramatically. "Honestly, I think it's a midlife crisis. Cheaper than a sports car, I guess. But between you and me, I'm just riding this out until he comes to his senses. He'll get bored eventually, go back to real work, and we can get back to normal life." "You're patient," Sienna said. I'd have put my foot down by now. Oh, I will, Gabby replied, and her voice took on a sharper edge. If he's still doing this nonsense a year from now, we're going to have a serious conversation about priorities. Our priorities, not his little hobby. More laughter, more wine being poured. I set the water bottle down on the counter, carefully, silently. I didn't storm out there, didn't confront her, didn't say a word. I just walked back to the garage, sat down on my workbench, and stared at the circuit board in front of me. Something shifted in me that day. Not rage, not even hurt really. Just clarity. Cold, absolute clarity. The woman I'd married didn't believe in me. Worse, she was actively mocking what I was trying to build. She saw my life's work as a phase, an inconvenience, something to tolerate until I returned to being the reliable paycheck she could spend. That night, after her friends left and she'd gone to bed, I sat in my home office and did something I'd never done before. I Googled asset protection divorce, then intellectual property marital property, then how to separate business assets from marriage. I spent 3 hours reading, learning, planning. By sunrise, I knew what I had to do. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, out of survival. Because if she didn't believe in my work, she didn't get to profit from it when it finally succeeded. And I was going to make damn sure it succeeded. The Monday after that patio conversation, I called my brother Winston. He lived in Oregon, running a successful medical equipment distribution company. We'd always been close, even with the distance. Win, I need your help with something, I said, sitting in my car outside a coffee shop. I didn't want to risk Gabby overhearing. And I need you to trust me without asking too many questions yet. Winston, my older brother by 3 years, knew me well enough to hear the seriousness in my voice. What's going on, Press? I'm going to send you some documents to sign. Trust documents, corporate filings. Your name will be on them as a beneficiary and registered agent. Everything's legal. Everything's clean. I just need you to hold some pieces for me. There was a pause. Does this have to do with Gabby? Yes. Say no more. Winston replied immediately. Send them over. Whatever you need, brother. That's family. No judgment. No interrogation. Just support when it matters. Over the next 6 months, I built my fortress brick by brick. I hired an attorney my brother recommended, a sharp woman named Rita Blackwood, who specialized in intellectual property and asset protection. Rita didn't waste time with pleasantries. Mr. Rafferty, Rita said at our first meeting, I need you to understand something. What we're doing is completely legal, but it requires precision. One mistake, one misfiling, one wrong date, and it all falls apart. Can you follow instructions exactly? I'm an engineer, I replied. Precision is what I do. She smiled slightly. Good. Then let's build you a structure that can't be touched. We created Cascade Water Systems, a Delaware corporation. Rita handled the filing, using a registered agent in Miami. The corporation existed solely to hold my patent applications and intellectual property. I transferred all rights to my filtration technology into Cascade, backdating the proper development documentation. Then we established the Rafferty Family Trust, with Winston as the primary trustee. The trust owned 40% of Cascade. On paper, I was merely a technical consultant to the corporation, not the owner. Every expense related to my research got logged under Cascade's consulting budget. Every prototype material, every testing fee, every late-night component order, all documented, all legitimate business expenses of a corporation that existed independently of my marriage. I stopped contributing to our joint investment accounts. Instead, my consulting income, what little I still earned from side projects, went into an LLC I'd formed through Wyoming. The LLC paid me a modest salary that covered my personal expenses. Everything else stayed locked in corporate structures Gabby didn't know existed. The hardest part was the acting. Coming home every night, kissing her cheek, listening to her talk about her day while I knew she was counting down the days until my hobby failed. Watching her spend money on retreats and workshops with Brett, her spiritual guide, knowing she saw me as her meal ticket. But I played the role. The devoted husband, the obsessed inventor, the man too buried in his work to notice his marriage crumbling. Because I was patient. And patience, I was learning, was the most masculine trait of all. 3 days after Gabby served me the divorce papers, she posted a photo on social media. She was at some upscale rooftop bar downtown, the Golden Sky Lounge, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Her head tilted just so, lips around a champagne flute, the city skyline glittering behind her. The caption read, "New chapters require new energy. Grateful for the journey ahead." The comments rolled in immediately. "You're glowing. About time you put yourself first. Yas queen. Living your truth." Sienna's comment stood out. "The universe rewards those who choose themselves. Champagne tastes better when you're free." I sat in my car outside my attorney's office, scrolling through the responses. Gabby had tagged the location, tagged Sienna, and 2 other women, and somehow made my life's work collapsing into divorce proceedings look like a personal liberation movement. That weekend, she went further. A professional photo shoot in some field outside the city, golden hour lighting, wearing a flowing white dress, barefoot, arms spread wide like she was embracing freedom itself. The photographer posted them with the hashtag #divorceglow. My phone buzzed with messages from concerned friends and colleagues. "Hey man, saw Gabby's posts. You doing okay? Preston, if you need to talk." I didn't respond to most of them. What was there to say? That my wife was celebrating our marriages in like it was a product launch? But I did call Winston. "Have you seen her social media?" I asked. "Yeah," Winston said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "She's making quite the spectacle. You want me to say something?" "No," I replied calmly. "Let her celebrate. Let her think she's won. Press, she's making you look like a fool." "I know. And that's exactly what I need her to think. That I'm blindsided, hurt, not thinking strategically. The more confident she gets, the less careful she'll be." Winston was quiet for a moment. "You've really thought this through. Every angle," I confirmed. "She's drinking champagne and taking victory photos. I'm 3 steps ahead with paperwork she doesn't know exists. Let her have her moment. Mine's coming." What I didn't tell Winston was that each post, each public celebration, each tag location and expensive purchase was evidence. Evidence of her spending habits, her priorities, her mindset. Rita had told me to save everything, and I was. Meanwhile, Douglas Finch, Gabby's attorney, sent over preliminary demands. 60% of all assets in her favor, citing her financial support during the development years and lifestyle maintenance requirements. 60%. She wasn't just trying to split things fairly. She was going for the throat. I forwarded the demands to Rita. Her response came back within an hour. "Let them think they're negotiating from strength. When we reveal Cascade, this entire position collapses. Stay calm, stay quiet, and trust the process." So I did. While Gabby posted photos and collected congratulations, I reviewed corporate documents and prepared for the real battle. She thought she was winning. She had no idea the game had already been decided. 3 weeks into the divorce proceedings, I woke up at 2 in the morning with crushing pain in my chest. Not metaphorical heartbreak. Actual, physical pain that made breathing difficult. I managed to drive myself to the emergency room, which in retrospect was stupid, but I wasn't thinking clearly. The ER doctor took one look at my EKG and admitted me immediately. "Mr. Rafferty, you're having a cardiac event," the cardiologist explained 6 hours later. "Not a full heart attack, but severe stress-induced angina. Your heart is under significant strain." "How bad?" I asked. "Bad enough that if you don't make changes, we're looking at a major coronary event within months. You need to reduce stress, change your diet, possibly medication." I lay in that hospital bed, connected to monitors, and laughed. Actually laughed. Reduce stress. While going through a divorce, fighting for my life's work, and watching my wife celebrate on social media. The nurse looked concerned. "Sir, are you all right?" "I'm fine," I said, just appreciating the irony. They kept me for 2 days. I didn't call Gabby. Didn't tell her I was there. What would be the point? She'd either use it against me in court or, worse, pretend to care. Winston flew down from Oregon the moment I texted him. "Jesus, press," he said, walking into my room. "You should have called me immediately." "I'm okay," I assured him. "Just a warning shot." "This is what she's doing to you," Winston said, anger evident in his voice. "The stress of all this legal maneuvering." "No," I corrected him. "This is what happens when you build something worth fighting for. The body keeps score, but the mind stays focused." On my second day in hospital, my phone buzzed. A text from Douglas Finch, Gabby's attorney. "Mr. Rafferty, we've become aware of your hospitalization. My client wishes to accelerate proceedings given your health status. Please advise on expedited settlement discussions. I stared at that message for a full minute. She'd found out I was in the hospital, and her first instinct wasn't concern. It was opportunity. Speed up the divorce before I died and complicated her payout. I forwarded it to Rita. Her response: save this. It shows motive and character. Also, take care of yourself. We need you alive to win this. When I was discharged, the cardiologist prescribed medication and strongly recommended I reduce my workload. Instead, I doubled down, not on the engineering work that was essentially done, but on preparing for the legal battle ahead. Because if Gabby thought my health crisis was her opening, she was wrong. It was just another piece of evidence showing exactly who she was. And the courts would see it all. The night I came home from the hospital, something felt off. I'd been gone for 2 days, and the house had that disturbed quality, like someone had been searching for something. I checked my home office first. My filing cabinet looked normal, but the papers inside were slightly out of order. I'm meticulous about organization, engineering habit, and these documents weren't how I'd left them. Then I noticed my desk drawer, the one where I kept personal files, wasn't quite closed. The lock mechanism showed scratches, fresh ones. She tried to break into my desk. I immediately checked the security camera system I'd quietly installed 3 months earlier. Small cameras, hidden in smoke detectors and wall outlets. Gabby didn't know about them. I pulled up the footage from yesterday afternoon, and there she was. Gabby, in my office, going through filing cabinets, trying keys on my desk drawer, photographing documents with her phone. She spent 40 minutes searching, looking for bank statements, corporate records, anything that would reveal assets she could claim. She found nothing useful. My important documents were in Rita's office safe, but the attempt itself was gold. I downloaded the footage, backed it up in 3 locations, and sent a copy to Rita with a simple message: evidence of attempted document theft. Rita called within minutes. Preston, this is extraordinary. She's on camera trying to access lock files during an active divorce proceeding. This demonstrates bad faith and possible obstruction. Can we use it in court? I asked. Absolutely. But here's what we're going to do. We're not going to reveal we have this footage yet. Let her attorney continue with their aggressive strategy. Let them make demands, file motions, act like they have the upper hand. Then, at the right moment, we show the judge exactly what kind of person we're dealing with. Strategic patience, I said. Exactly. You're learning. The next morning, Gabby acted like nothing had happened. She was pleasant at breakfast, almost cheerful. How are you feeling after the hospital? She asked, buttering toast. Better, I replied, watching her carefully. Good. You should take care of yourself, Preston. Stress can be so damaging. The irony was suffocating. She was the primary source of my stress, and she was standing in my kitchen offering health advice after spending yesterday trying to rob me. I'm managing, I said simply. Well, Douglas says we should try to settle this quickly, Gabby continued. For both our sakes. Long court battles benefit no one. Translation: she wanted to wrap this up before I finished organizing my defenses. I'm sure our attorneys will work it out, I replied neutrally. She smiled, satisfied, thinking I was being cooperative. What she didn't know was that every conversation, every attempt at manipulation, every fake concern was being documented. Not just by me, but by the cameras she didn't know existed. I finished my coffee and headed to the garage. Not to work on the filtration system, that was done, but to review the timeline of evidence I was building. Gabby thought she was hunting. She had no idea she was the one being tracked. The unraveling started subtly. Gabby posted about brunch at Meridian Heights, one of those trendy spots where everything costs too much and tastes like aesthetic. She tagged Sienna and 2 other women from her empowerment group. Except when I drove past Meridian Heights that Sunday, I saw Sienna through the window, with 3 other women. Not Gabby. Gabby's Instagram story showed her at home, alone with avocado toast and coffee, captioned, "Sometimes the best company is your own." The cracks were showing. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched her social circle contract in real time. The comments on her posts became fewer, less enthusiastic. The women who'd celebrated her liberation were quietly stepping back. I heard about it through Winston, who heard it from his wife, who heard it through the strange network of social connections that exists in every community. Sienna's been talking, Winston told me over the phone. Apparently, Gabi's been hitting her up for money. Said she needed a bridge loan until the settlement came through. Asked for $40,000. Did Sienna give it to her? Hell no. And she told other people about it. Word spreading that Gabi's broke and desperate. It made sense. Gabi had been spending like the $55 million was already in her account. Designer clothes, spa treatments, that photo shoot, the retreats with Brett. She'd burned through her savings, assuming the settlement was imminent. But settlements take time, and her attorney's fees were piling up. Then came the country club incident. Gabi had been a member of Lakeside Country Club for 6 years. She loved the status it conveyed, the networking opportunities, the tennis courts she never actually used. The membership cost $12,000 annually, automatically charged to a joint account. The joint account I'd closed 4 months ago. The club sent her a formal notice. I know because she left it on the kitchen counter, probably hoping I'd see it and feel guilty enough to pay. Notice of membership suspension. Due to non-payment of quarterly dues, your membership privileges have been temporarily suspended. Please remit payment within 30 days to avoid permanent termination. She tried calling me about it. I didn't answer. She sent texts. I responded through my attorney. The desperation became visible. Her posts stopped being about empowerment and started being about fake friends and learning who's real. She unfollowed half her contact list. Several people unfollowed her back. Then Sienna's best friend, a woman named Monica, posted something pointed. Real queens don't beg. They build. It wasn't explicitly about Gabi, but everyone knew. I ran into one of Gabi's former tennis partners at a coffee shop. Janet, a lawyer's wife who'd always been cordial to me. Preston, I just want to say, Janet began carefully. Not everyone believed Gabi's version of things. Some of us always knew you were the one holding everything together. I nodded, appreciating the sentiment, but not needing the validation. What mattered wasn't public opinion. What mattered was that Gabi's carefully constructed narrative was falling apart. The empowered woman leaving her limiting marriage was now being seen as what she actually was. Someone who'd gambled on a payday and was slowly realizing she'd miscalculated. Her father, Raymond, called me directly. That was unexpected. Preston, this is Ray Foster. I think we should talk. We met at a neutral location, a quiet restaurant outside town. Raymond was 72, a retired insurance executive who'd built his wealth through patience and strategy. He looked tired. I'm not here to take sides, Raymond said once we'd sat down. But I am here to understand what's happening. My daughter seems to think she's about to become very wealthy from this divorce. Her spending suggests she's already counting money she doesn't have. I respected his directness. Mr. Foster, I can't discuss the details of the case. But I will say this. Gabi's assumptions about the settlement may not align with reality. He studied me for a long moment. She's always been impulsive. I spoiled her, I know that. Her mother and I both did. But she's my daughter, and I need to know if she's about to hit a wall financially. She is, I said simply. A significant one. Raymond nodded slowly. Then I'll prepare for that conversation. Thank you for being honest. As he stood to leave, he paused. For what it's worth, Preston, I always thought you were good for her. I'm sorry it ended this way. So am I, sir. So am I. But I wasn't. Not really. This ending was necessary, even if it was painful. And watching Gabi's world contract while mine expanded felt less like victory and more like natural consequences finally arriving. The courthouse smelled like floor polish and stale coffee. The kind of building where life-changing decisions happen in beige rooms with uncomfortable chairs. Gabi arrived wearing a navy suit, hair perfect, makeup flawless. She looked like she was in a job interview, which in a way, she was. An interview to justify why she deserved half of everything. Douglas Finch carried a leather briefcase that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. He radiated expensive confidence. Rita Blackwood, by contrast, wore a simple black suit and carried a single folder. She looked like someone who didn't need props to win. The judge, a woman named Sandra Reeves with silver hair and sharp eyes, called the proceeding to order. We're here for preliminary discovery and asset disclosure, Judge Reeves stated. Mr. Finch, you may proceed. Douglas stood, smoothing his tie. Your Honor, we're requesting full disclosure of all assets, accounts, and business interests held by Mr. Rafferty, specifically any intellectual property or corporate entities related to his recent water filtration patent sale. He smiled slightly, like he was delivering a winning argument. Rita stood slowly. Your Honor, we've prepared complete disclosure. She slid a single document across to the clerk, who handed it to Judge Reeves. The judge read it. Her eyebrows rose slightly. Douglas took his copy, scanned it, and his confident expression flickered. What is Cascade Water Systems? Douglas asked sharply. A Delaware corporation, Rita replied calmly. Incorporated March 15, 2022. 18 months before Mrs. Rafferty filed for divorce. I've never heard of Cascade Water Systems, Gabby hissed to Douglas, loud enough for me to hear. The corporation holds all intellectual property rights to the water filtration technology, Rita continued. Mr. Rafferty serves as a technical consultant. The patent licensing agreement is between Aquatech Global and Cascade Water Systems, not Mr. Rafferty personally. Douglas was flipping through papers now, faster, searching. Your Honor, we need time to investigate this corporate structure. This appears to be an attempt to hide marital assets. Nothing is hidden, Rita said. All incorporation documents, tax filings, and operational records are included in our disclosure packet, all properly dated, notarized, and filed with appropriate state agencies. She produced a thicker folder, handed it to the clerk. Judge Reeves reviewed the first several pages. Mr. Finch, these documents appear to predate the divorce filing by a considerable margin. Your Honor, the timing is suspicious, Douglas argued, but his voice had lost its edge. Suspicious isn't illegal, Judge Reeves replied dryly. Unless you can demonstrate fraud or improper asset concealment. Corporate structures established prior to dissolution proceedings are generally separate property. Gabby's face had gone pale. She leaned toward Douglas, whispering urgently. He shook his head. Mrs. Rafferty, Judge Reeves said, looking directly at Gabby. Did you have any involvement in your husband's water filtration research? Gabby hesitated. I supported him financially while he worked on it. Rita made a small note on her pad, but said nothing. Did you contribute intellectually to the technology itself? Judge Reeves asked. Well, no, but did you participate in patent applications, corporate formation, or business development? I was focused on my own career, Gabby said defensively. I see, Judge Reeves said neutrally. Mr. Finch, unless you can provide evidence of Mrs. Rafferty's direct contribution to the intellectual property or demonstrate that corporate assets were improperly transferred after marriage, I see no basis to include Cascade Water Systems in the marital estate. Douglas stood there, essentially speechless. We'll reconvene in 30 days for further discovery, Judge Reeves concluded. But based on the documentation provided today, the court's preliminary assessment is that the corporate entity exists independently of the marriage. The gavel came down. Gabby stared at me across the courtroom, not with anger exactly, but with dawning realization. The empire she thought she'd divide didn't exist, not in a form she could touch. Outside the courthouse, Rita allowed herself a small smile. That went well, she said simply. They didn't see it coming, I observed. They never do. Preparation beats confidence every time. I watched Douglas and Gabby through the glass doors. He was talking rapidly, gesturing. She was standing very still, like someone who just realized the ground beneath her feet wasn't solid. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired, but I also felt vindicated. The game wasn't over, but the first major battle was won. The mediation room was deliberately neutral. Beige walls, generic artwork, a conference table that had witnessed countless marriages dissolve into paperwork. Gabby arrived looking different. No designer outfit, no perfect makeup, just jeans and a sweater, hair pulled back simply. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Douglas Finch looked exhausted. His expensive briefcase seemed heavier than before. Rita placed a single document on the table. Our final settlement offer, Rita stated. Mrs. Rafferty retains the lake house, appraised at $480,000. She retains her personal vehicle and checking account. Current balance, $3,200. All claims to Cascade Water Systems, intellectual property, and related income are waived. No spousal support. No alimony. In exchange, Mrs. Rafferty signs a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement regarding Mr. Rafferty, his work, and these proceedings. Douglas read it carefully. His shoulders sagged. This is substantially less than what we discussed initially, Douglas said quietly. Your initial demands were based on faulty assumptions, Rita replied without malice. This offer reflects actual marital assets. Gabby stared at the paper. The house and $3,200? That's it. That's what's available, I said calmly. The rest was never marital property. I gave you 23 years, Gabby said, her voice breaking slightly. You gave me criticism, I corrected gently. You call my life's work a hobby, a midlife crisis, an embarrassment. You waited for me to fail so you could say you were right. You don't get a profit from something you never believed in. Douglas leaned toward Gabby, speaking softly. After several minutes, he straightened. We'll accept the terms, Douglas said, with one request. Can the NDA exclude conversations with immediate family? Rita glanced at me. I nodded. Agreed, Rita said. Immediate family only. Gabby signed slowly, her hand trembling slightly. Not from emotion, I thought, but from the weight of consequences finally arriving. I really thought. Gabby began, then stopped. You thought what? I asked. That you'd cave. That you'd feel guilty enough to just split everything down the middle. I know, I said. That's why this went the way it did. The mediator collected the signed documents. This concludes the session. The court will finalize within 10 business days. Gabby stood, gathered her things. At the door, she paused. Were you planning this the whole time? Even before I filed. I was protecting myself. I replied. There's a difference. She left without another word. Rita packed her folder methodically. How do you feel? Tired, I admitted. But clear. That's the right answer, Rita said. Victory shouldn't feel like celebration. It should feel like resolution. Outside, I called Winston. It's done, I told him. How much did she get? The lake house and her car. Winston whistled low. That's substantially less than $55 million. Substantially, I agreed. She bet everything on a misunderstanding. She lost. You sound almost sorry for her. I am a little, but not enough to change anything. That night, I sat in my garage, looking at the prototype that started everything. Prototype 17, the one that finally worked. The one that led to Cascade, to Aquatech, to everything. Gabby had called it a toy. Now it was providing clean water to communities in 7 countries and growing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just being right. 8 months after the divorce finalized, I stood backstage at the National Water Innovation Conference in Seattle. The auditorium held 300 people, engineers, humanitarian workers, government officials, people who understood what clean water meant. Oliver, my son, stood beside me, adjusting my microphone. You ready for this, Dad? Oliver asked. He was 29 now, working in renewable energy, carrying forward the same drive to solve problems that had defined my career. As ready as I'll be, I replied. The conference organizer gave me the signal. I walked onto stage. The presentation screen showed a new facility in Kenya, one of 12 sites now using Cascade Water Systems technology. Children filling bottles from a filtration station that could process 5,000 gallons daily. 4 years ago, I was working in a garage on a system most people said would never work. Today, that system provides clean drinking water to over 400,000 people across 9 countries. The audience applauded. Not politely, but genuinely. I talked about the technology, the challenges, the partnerships with NGOs and governments. I talked about the economics of deployment, the training programs for local operators, the sustainability models. What I didn't talk about was the divorce, the doubt, the woman who'd mocked this work while drinking wine on a patio. After the presentation, a young engineer from Ghana approached me. Mr. Rafferty, your system saved my village. My sister doesn't have to walk 5 miles for water anymore. Thank you. That handshake meant more than any settlement ever could. That evening, Oliver and I had dinner overlooking Elliott Bay. Mom tried to call me last week. Oliver said carefully. It's okay to talk to her, I assured him. She's still your mother. She wanted to know if you were at the conference, if you were getting awards or recognition. What did you tell her? That you were exactly where you wanted to be, doing work that matters. I smiled. That's accurate. She asked if you were seeing anyone. Not yet, I said. Maybe eventually. But I'm in no rush. I've got work I care about, a son I'm proud of, and peace of mind. That's enough for now. Oliver raised his glass. To building things that last. To building things that last, I echoed. Later, Walking along the waterfront, I thought about Gabby. I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd sold the lake house, moved to a smaller place, taken a job with a consulting firm. She was surviving, not thriving, but surviving. Part of me hoped she'd find whatever she was looking for. The larger part had simply moved on. My phone buzzed. A message from Rita. Consortium of universities wants to license your filtration tech for research facilities. Potential 8-figure deal. Interested. I typed back. Send me the details. Because that's what mattered now. Not settlements or revenge or proving points. Just the work. The endless, challenging, rewarding work of solving problems that needed solving. Gabby had asked me once, near the end, if I'd been planning my protection all along. The truth was simpler than that. I just refused to let someone who didn't believe in my dream profit from its success. And now, standing on this waterfront with my son beside me and opportunities stretching forward, I understood something crucial. The best response to doubt isn't anger. It's achievement. The best response to mockery isn't revenge. It's relevance. And the best response to betrayal isn't bitterness. It's building something so meaningful that the betrayal becomes irrelevant. I'd built that. And I keep building. Because that's what engineers do. We solve problems. We create solutions. We build things that last.